$170 billion didn't just vanish. It was yanked like a power cord from the heart of the U.S. economy. One day, the funding was flowing. The next, Boeing orders evaporated, factories froze mid-construction, and supply chains started glitching like a system running on backup power. Wall Street blinked. Washington stalled. But China had already moved, replanting its capital across Mexico, Serbia, and Southeast Asia, redrawing trade corridors while no one was watching. This wasn't a pause. It was a pivot. And the leverage? Not lost, just no longer ours. In the span of 3 years, Chinese investment in the U.S. collapsed from a peak of $46.5 billion in 2016 to less than $1.9 billion in 2024, according to Rhodium Group. That's not a dip. It's a strategic drawdown. The Bank of China halted financing for U.S. real estate projects in New York and Chicago, while CITIC and Fosun pulled out of industrial parks in Ohio and Nevada. Commercial property firm Cushman & Wakefield confirmed that Chinese buyers accounted for less than 1% of U.S. commercial real estate transactions in the first quarter of 2025, down from 10% in 2015. This isn't capital on pause. It's capital exiting in stealth. And while headlines focused on tariffs, the flow reversed quietly. Deal cancellations replaced venture announcements, construction sites went dark, and Chinese capital flows that once underpinned U.S. tech accelerators like Plug and Play have dried up entirely. So the question isn't just why China pulled back, it's what they're making room for. Boeing's exposure to China stood at $14 billion in pending orders as of late 2023 per Bloomberg. By March 2025, that pipeline had disintegrated. According to Reuters, the Civil Aviation Administration of China, CAAC, blocked acceptance of new 737 MAX deliveries, citing uncertainty in bilateral conditions. Aircraft tracking data from Cerium shows that 6 completed 737 MAX jets meant for China were rerouted to storage yards in Victorville, California in April alone. The fallout extends beyond aviation. Aerospace-grade titanium supplier Arconic, which generated 12% of revenue from Boeing China deliveries, reported a $115 million first-quarter revenue shortfall. But China's rejection wasn't just about risk mitigation. It was a precision signal. Boeing isn't just an exporter. It's a national symbol of industrial dominance. Pulling out of Boeing was China's way of saying, "We're not bluffing." The implication? If one of America's largest exporters can be iced out overnight, so can anyone else. Over $31 billion in Chinese-origin manufacturing projects have landed in Mexico since 2022, according to the Mexico Ministry of Economy. Shenzhen-based Hisense began construction on a $260 million appliance plant in Nuevo Leon in January 2024, while JAC Motors inked a joint venture with SolarEver to produce EVs in Hidalgo. The design is tactical. By assembling in Mexico under USMCA protocols, firms gain tariff-free access to U.S. markets, while avoiding direct Chinese import restrictions. According to a May 2025 Bloomberg intelligence report, 37% of Chinese firms relocating production now favor North America over Southeast Asia, a reversal from just 2 years ago. This trend caught the White House's attention. On April 10th, President Trump issued Executive Order 14288, imposing a 25% tariff on non-USMCA compliant goods from Mexico, triggering immediate reviews of 28 active projects. Logistics group Maersk confirmed a 26% surge in border inspections in May, delaying cross-border shipments by an average of 3.2 days. These aren't coincidences, they're deliberate friction points, and friction in supply chains burns margins before it hits headlines. Canada is leveraging a different currency: minerals. Natural resources. Canada reports that $18.7 billion in critical mineral projects, including lithium, cobalt, and rare earths, are under development as of the second quarter of 2025. The province of Quebec alone accounts for over 41% of North America's lithium output projections, positioning it as a keystone supplier in the West's electric vehicle supply chain. after forcing 3 Chinese firms, Sinomine, Zhangge, and Chengxin, to divest from Canadian mining assets in 2022. Ottawa now maintains a zero-China policy on critical resource extraction. In response, the U.S. Department of Defense signed a $375 million procurement deal with Neo Performance Materials in May to secure rare earth magnet supplies, bypassing China entirely. This isn't just diversification, it's re-architecture. But there's a caveat. Canadian mining faces local resistance, with Indigenous-led lawsuits halting 2 major lithium sites as of June. If Canada wants to be the West's new resource backbone, it will need to reconcile national security priorities with domestic sovereignty battles. Because even as it closes the door to China, it's opening new fault lines at home. Beijing isn't hoarding its chips, it's redealing the table. In the last 12 months, China has doubled down on factory construction in Southeast Asia, signing $8.9 billion in infrastructure agreements with Indonesia, Vietnam, and Malaysia, according to the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. In Serbia, Huawei opened a 5G equipment plant outside Belgrade in March, while China's CRRC began assembling electric trains in Hungary in partnership with state-owned MAV. But the largest pivot came in May, when the China Development Bank approved $1.2 billion in loans to Peru's Marcona port, creating a new export corridor for rare earth shipments to non-Western buyers. These aren't scattered investments, they're perimeter plays. China is building redundancy into its global network, not just to mitigate risk, but to dilute U.S. influence over choke points. Economist Alicia Garcia Herrero told the Financial Times, China is no longer just reacting to sanctions. It's building a separate economic geography. The message is clear. China's capital isn't coming home. It's making sure it never has to. Intel's $20 billion semiconductor campus in Arizona and Ford's $3.5 billion EV battery plant in Michigan headline America's reshoring push, but execution timelines reveal a troubling lag. According to McKinsey's 2025 Reshoring report, less than 18% of pledged domestic manufacturing capacity has entered full production, with most facilities not operational until 2027 or later. Meanwhile, Bloomberg notes that supply bottlenecks in lithium hydroxide, used in U.S. battery plants, are causing downstream EV delays, with Tesla pushing back its Cybertruck production target for the 3rd time this year. The White House's $52 billion CHIPS Act, signed in 2022, allocated funding for fabrication, but GAO audits show less than 40% of allocated funds have been dispersed as of May 2025. Largely due to regulatory delays and permitting gridlocks. Former U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo warned at the Stanford Global Manufacturing Forum, reshoring is not a sprint, it's a marathon we're already late to. But while America builds the runway, manufacturers are still flying blind, because what's missing isn't just funding, it's time. U.S. import prices jumped 7.2% year over year as of April 2025, driven largely by tariff hikes on components from Mexico, Canada, and redirected Chinese suppliers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The American Automotive Policy Council estimates that Trump's reinstated tariff regime is adding $1,600 to the average cost of a new vehicle, with GM and Stellantis reporting first quarter cost overruns of $4.1 billion and $2.7 billion, respectively. Retail inflation, once easing, has snapped back. The Consumer Price Index rose 0.6% in May, the sharpest monthly increase since July 2023. A study by the Peterson Institute for International Economics projects that ongoing tariff escalation could shave 0.8% off U.S. GDP in 2025, equivalent to $230 billion in lost output. In rural Ohio, a Tier 2 parts manufacturer employing 500 workers filed for bankruptcy after failing to secure alternative suppliers outside China. A scenario now playing out across the Midwest. But the costs aren't just corporate. They're creeping into your grocery cart, your electricity bill, and your rent. And yet, the hardest financial decisions may still lie ahead. In April, the U.S. Treasury proposed restrictions on outbound investment into Chinese AI and quantum computing ventures, a move backed by the National Counterintelligence and Security Center, which now classifies 29 Chinese tech firms as strategic risk nodes. The draft regulation would block U.S. capital from flowing into sectors Beijing identifies as part of its military-civil fusion plan. But this goes far beyond money. According to Reuters, joint research publications between U.S. and Chinese universities have declined by 38% since 2021, while the National Science Foundation reported a 22% drop in Chinese PhD enrollment in U.S. tech fields in 2024 alone. Cisco has started rewriting firmware protocols to comply with new export scrutiny, and NVIDIA recently disclosed that export limitations could impact 25% of its projected growth in Southeast Asia. This isn't Cold War nostalgia. It's a full-spectrum firewall in real time. The Wall Street Journal described it as a de facto partitioning of global innovation. So the real question isn't whether this firewall is digital. It's whether the consequences are irreversible. Mexico's manufacturing surge may seem like a geopolitical win, but over 58% of components used in newly relocated factories still originate from mainland China, according to data from Banxico's 2025 Supply Chain Index. BYD's stalled $600 million plant in Coahuila wasn't abandoned for lack of interest. It was entangled in U.S. scrutiny over embedded Chinese semiconductors in electric drivetrain systems. Bloomberg reports. Even Mexico's flagship lithium project in Sonora relies on Chinese refining tech, raising red flags in Washington. President Claudia Sheinbaum has since expanded vetting of foreign direct investment, but the oversight mechanisms remain inconsistent. And while U.S. firms are pouring capital into the region, UPS just opened a $90 million logistics hub in Guadalajara. Their reliance on third-party Chinese suppliers continues unbroken. As economist Duncan Wood at the Wilson Center notes, we're not breaking dependency, we're just pushing it downstream. So while nearshoring may look like insulation, it's increasingly starting to resemble camouflage. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.